Anyway, we do have some people here today who have not booked through MOAA Vacations before. So this first slide here kind of goes over the things that kind of make us unique, I guess I would say. Danny, if you could go ahead and click to the next slide.
Working on that. There we go.
Okay, no worries. So this is MOAA Vacations, and so when we talk about what makes us unique, one of the first things we always talk about is our superior service. So we are the only travel agency in the country that provides travel on a satisfaction guaranteed basis. And that's as simple as it sounds, that if you book your trip through us, if you have any issues, problems, concerns, whatever that may be, either before or during your trip, we will get that resolved to your satisfaction. We do have the guaranteed lowest prices, so you will never pay too much. And with a lot of vendors, we have a free amenity program. That's not really applicable to a company like Rocky Mountaineer, but when we look at the cruise side, for example, we'll just use a couple like Regent Seven Seas Cruises. On any Regent cruise that you purchase, you would receive a $250 shipboard credit. That would be in addition to the lowest price. And then finally, group opportunities. And that's really what we're here to talk about today, is the opportunity to join your fellow MOAA members on this MOAA group departure to the Rocky Mountaineers. So here are just a couple of comments from MOAA members who went on this year's Rocky Mountaineer trip to the Canadian Rockies. We didn't actually ask members to provide quotes that we could use, but rather when anyone gets back from a cruise or a tour or a trip with us, we always send them an email and ask them how their trip went. And these are some members who literally sent us either pictures, comments, or in some cases both. So you may have seen some of these comments in the invitation that went out today's webinar. So the previous picture is a picture of two couples who went on the tour, and this is the MOAA group on the train. So as you can see, there are only so many seats on the train or on the tour buses. So there is a limit to how many seats we have available for the 2024 group. I bring this up because we only have 17 double and one single room remaining. And there were over 160 people who signed up for this webinar. So obviously we don't have enough rooms for everyone. So as soon as you decide that you want to join this tour, please give us a call to make sure space is still available. Here's another slide, a different couple that also went on the Canadian Rockies tour, and were kind enough to share not only a picture and a comment. I wanted to let everybody know we are recording this webinar, so we will share it with everyone this evening. This allows you to revisit any part of the video that you want to relive or kind of go over again in your mind, but it also allows you to share it with your friends and family. And when I started just a couple of minutes ago, I kind of talked about the benefits of booking through MOAA Vacation. All of those benefits, the superior service, the guaranteed lowest price, the MOAA group departures, all of these benefits are available to any guest who travel with you. So when we say this is a MOAA exclusive group, that means everyone in the group is either a MOAA member or the guest of a MOAA member. So you can invite your friends or family to join you on this fantastic Canadian Rockies tour if you'd like. And then finally, this is the last slide. I only shared 6 of the comments we received, but this is actually a picture that one of the members shared with us. This is the group, or at least part of the group that did the tour. And if the comments, if you'd had time to kind of read through them, or you read through them when you got the invitation, seem kind of redundant, I think that's because everybody was in agreement of what a fabulous tour this was. So in just a minute, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Danny Becker. Danny is going to talk about Rocky Mountaineer and highlight the day-by-day itinerary of this amazing tour. After Danny is finished, we will have a Q&A during which Danny and I will answer all of your questions. If you have any questions, please list them in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. I will be reviewing those during the presentation. Some of them, if it's a quick, simple answer, I will just answer. If it's something I think the whole group would benefit from, then I will save those, and Danny and I will answer them together so everybody in attendance can hear that information. I'm also going to put a link to the web page, which has all the information, including pricing and day-to-day itinerary on this group in the chat. You should have all received that in the invitation, but in case during the presentation you want to revisit that to make it as simple as possible, I'll just put that link in the chat. And then one final comment, and that's that MOAA Vacations is a full-service travel agency, and we specialize in vacation travel. So we want to be your travel agency of choice for all of your vacation travel: escorted land tours, cruises, resort stays, and of course, train tours. So we are here to help MOAA members with all of their travel needs. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Danny. Danny, tell us more about Rocky Mountaineer.
Happy to, John. Thank you very much for having us today. Again, my name is Danny Becker, and I've been with Rocky Mountaineer a little over 7 years. Been in the travel industry for a little over 40 years. But I found my home in 2016. And really have enjoyed working for this great Canadian brand. Just to let you know kind of when we started, our owner, Peter Armstrong, started this company back in 1990. And so we've been wowing people on our trains since 1990. Of course, we didn't run a single train in 2020. We all know what happened that year. But we're back and running strong again. And this year is going to be the best year we've ever had. And you guys have an awesome trip coming up, and I'm looking forward to telling you about it. So before we get into that precise itinerary and that package, let me just tell you a little bit about Rocky Mountaineer. Why Rocky Mountaineer? Well, that's why you're here, right? Learning more about the product in general, the experience in general, but also specifically this package. And when we talk about the Rocky Mountaineer experience, we talk about a lot of things, but we really focus on a few key attributes of the Rocky Mountaineer experience. Number one being an all-domed, state-of-the-art fleet of rail cars. This is one of our brand new 3.0 or third generation rail cars. They're built by a company in Germany called Stadler, and they're a cool $10 million a piece. So that's a high-end RV, right? That's quite a perch that you have to look through and see the Canadian Rockies. So that's the first thing we tend to go to. Second thing, in Gold Leaf, we have gourmet cuisine. We have Michelin-trained chefs in our Gold Leaf kitchens. And the magic they do in those little tiny kitchens is pretty amazing, and anxious for you to experience that. The food is fantastic, and there's something really surreal about traveling through this rugged country and enjoying a gourmet meal, something surreal and special at the same time. I never get tired of being on the train. It is awesome. And just to kind of give you a little sample of the experience, our hosts are very good about keeping people engaged in what's coming up in the rail trip. Whether it's an animal sighting, they'll slow the train down to 5 miles an hour. They know when the mile markers are coming up where there are specific rail history markers like Craig Gallagher, where the final spike was driven. Pardon me. And so they really keep people engaged all day long with the history. And it's, particularly on this route that you're on, it's one dramatic bridge, lake, river, waterfall after the other. It's quite spectacular, and can't say enough about the experience on board. And by the way, everything is included on board. You'll want for nothing on the train. Even gratuities are included on the train. And most people say when they get to Kamloops that first day on the train, whether you're going eastbound or westbound, you guys happen to be going westbound, they say that they're not hungry at all and just want to get a good night's sleep and get ready for the next spectacular train day, that second train day. So that's the second thing we tend to focus on. The other is our dreamy hotel partners. And you guys in this trip really do have a list of spectacular hotels. And I'll go over them one by one here shortly. But this is one of the most famous hotels in the Canadian Rockies. It's our partner, or one of our main Gold Leaf partners there. And it's called the Fairmont Banff Springs. I show this only because it is just one of those icons of the Rockies, Canadian Rockies, that you'll want to go over and visit and see it. And then the next thing we tend to focus on is our 3 stunning seasons. We are not a year-round product. We're a seasonal experience, and we start our journeys typically in mid-April and go through mid-October. And I think your trip is in June of next year, which is a great time to go. But that shows you a little bit about each of our seasons, and that middle picture is bigger because that's the biggest portion of our season. The mid-June to early September timeframe approximately. And then the next thing is our customized journeys, and that's what we've done here with this group trip. And I love this picture because it's a dreamy picture of these ladies that are looking at the bridge that just crossed over, and that's one of our outdoor viewing platforms on our Gold Leaf 3.0, or actually on all of our Gold Leaf cars. And then world-class service in 2019, we had a net promoter score of 82, which is not only one of the highest in the travel industry, but one of the highest in any industry. We're really proud of that, and we're looking to really smash that number here this year and next year on our Canadian routes and our new U.S. route. And then we don't throw this in there lightly. A lot of companies will say, "Oh, life-changing experiences." Well, we actually hear this a lot from our guests, and I think you saw a few pictures indicating that that John had included at the front of this deck, and that's typically what we get all the time. We never hear hear any negatives, and people are just blown away by the scenery and the service on board, and it's just spectacular. In fact, here are some of the awards and recognition we've gotten over the years. I'm not going to go into all these, but I would say the one we're most proud of is the one we've won the most, and that's that Travel Weekly Reader's Choice Awards. We've won Best Rail Vacation about 12 or 13 times over our 33-year existence, and we're really proud of that. Here's our, our route map, and in Canada, and you can see there's 3 distinctively different routes. Our most popular route is that route that you're on, that first passage to the west route, that red route there, and we're doing it westbound from. You'll fly into Calgary, obviously, and I'll show you that itinerary here in a minute, and then you'll motor coach over. After one night in Calgary, you'll motor coach over to Banff. We'll have some time and great motor coach tours there, and then the first day on the train from Banff to Kamloops, and then on over to Vancouver. So here's our opening page on the package that you have, and you can see double occupancy for this trip is $49.89, a really good value, especially when you compare it to a lot of our Gold Leaf packages that are individual packages, full individual tariff, or we call them FIT, just ones you can book today as an individual couple. We typically have a lot more included and better pricing on our groups, so you are getting a great deal here. And then you can see the single occupancy at $64.39 per person, and you can see all the inclusions there. I won't read them out one by one, but I think you can see just by glancing at it, there's a lot more included than there are exclusions. So let me click to the next slide. So day 1, June 20th of next year, you'll arrive in Calgary, and that's really a great time to go. I was just looking at that date again. Really, we're just getting going in late May, early June. The weather is really spectacular. You'll transfer from Calgary Airport to the Fairmont Palliser Hotel, and I was telling John earlier, I can't say enough great things about this property. It is a phenomenal hotel. Calgary, as you might know, is a cowboy town. It's an oil town, modern city. You can see the beautiful Bow River running right through it there. It's known for the Calgary Stampede, but that Fairmont Palliser is the address in downtown Calgary, and you'll love it. It's just one of those grand Fairmonts. And by the way, on each end of the trip, you have Fairmont hotels that are this style, this older style, but the rooms have been redone, and they're really spectacular. So let me just scroll through some of the pictures of the famous Fairmont Palliser there in downtown Calgary. You can see one of the public rooms there, and it's really spectacular, beautifully done. They've left a lot of the old, but they've made the rooms new, and you'll see that here in a minute as well. That's a more modern look there in one of the lounges. I think that's a coffee bar, but really, really tastefully done. And the service, of course, is all Fairmont. There's one of the king rooms there, very spacious. I stayed there when I had a learning journey this past May, and that's the itinerary that I was talking about. And stayed in the Palliser one night, and then had a great tour the next day. There's one of the pool areas there at the Palliser, great bar area there, which is always important, right? And day 2, you have a group breakfast included there at the Fairmont Palliser. Then and we'll give you all that timing as we get closer. Then you'll have a sightseeing tour, Calgary to Banff, and you'll enjoy motor coach, or I'll get it out, motor coach exploring the areas around Banff, including the Banff Gondola. That's a no miss, by the way. And I'll show you some pictures of that in just a minute. But that also includes Bow Falls, Surprise Corner, which you have some really great views of the Fairmont Banff Springs and the famous Hoodoos very close to Banff there. So there's a shot of that gondola. That's at the top of Sulphur Mountain. And it is one of those no miss experiences you're just not going to want to miss, especially if it's a clear day. And that time of the year should be. And you get to the top of this, man, it's about a 7-minute ride up there. There's a great store and gift shop area at the bottom. And there's also one at the top with several restaurants. These gondolas hold 4 people. Like I said, it's a 7-minute ride, but the culmination at the top is just being able to go out on that outer deck and see this breathtaking, stunning view of the Bow Valley. And I can see why they put a gondola at the top of that mountain, because I've been there many times and I never get tired of this either. And then that right picture there, that's Bow Falls there, right next to the Fairmont Banff Springs. And that time of year, that should be running really strongly. And you'll see some spectacular falls there. There's a little parking place the motor coachers pull off, but it's really fun. And then there's some better pictures of the Banff area, the Sulphur Mountain Gondola. Banff is known for its hot springs, so if you want to take advantage of that, it's very close to the entrance there of where you go up Sulphur Mountain. And that time of year, those springs should be open. There's an 18-hole golf course there at the Fairmont Banff Springs. And our accommodations are one of the newest hotels in Banff is part of Banff Lodging, and it's called the Moose Hotel. And you can see the moose there in the foreground. It's a great hotel. It's one of those really comfortable, lots of wood everywhere. And you'll see some of the pictures as we scroll through them here. There's one of the lounge areas on the left there with the fireplace, and one of the 2 suites there. For our Goldie experience, we typically do use their suite rooms. And then day 3 is a group breakfast included there before you go out on your sightseeing tour of Banff and Yoho National Parks. So let's take a look at a few pictures there. There's Emerald Lake Lodge. This is one of the stunning areas that you'll see on this tour that day. And just like Lake Louise, and even more so really, you can see this perfect duplicate of the mountains in the lake. And it's just this serene lake. It's gorgeous. You have plenty of time to walk around that lake, and we'll have lunch there too. It's a great barbecue lunch they have. And there's a picture of the walkway over to the Emerald Lodge there, and the inside of one of their public rooms, their restaurants there. I'm not sure if that's the one that you'll be at, but it's just a beautiful place to have lunch. And then either before that or after that, I'm not sure. It depends on the driver lots of times, but you'll go by and they'll park with a good view on the side of the highway there, the Trans-Canada Highway, and you'll be able to see the spiral tunnels. A lot of history behind these tunnels, so I won't go into that, but if you get lucky, you might see a freight train going in the first tunnel and simultaneously coming out of the last tunnel. I got to see that my first time on the train back in 2016, and then and I was pretty impressed at that. And like I said, these are engineering marvels. These tunnels are, but I'll let you wait until the motor coach driver and the train host talk about them as well. And on that same trip, you'll see Tacacon Falls, and that time of year, again, they should be running very strong. And it's the second highest waterfall in all of Canada. It's definitely a must-see there as well. So the day 4, at this point, we're at day 4. Group breakfast is not included at the hotel this day because why? Because your breakfast is on Rocky Mountaineer on the Gold Leaf experience. And so you'll leave the Moose Hotel very early. It's only about a 5-minute motor coach transfer over to our station. And for that transfer, you will more than likely be on a motor coach with not necessarily all of your group, but you're going to our train station with any and everybody that's in Banff that's going on the train, and they know exactly which rail cars you're in. So it could be that you'll be with all of your group, but we just don't know at this point. We were in a motor coach with a lot of different people when I was there in May. But this is your first train day, and it's spectacular. And you're on your way to Kamloops. It's about a 10-hour trip. And again, I won't, spoil it, but this first day especially is spectacular. And it's one dramatic bridge, waterfall, lake after the other. In fact, make a special note of Shuswap Lake, which you're traveling alongside probably for a good 2 hours. That lake is that big, and you see some incredible sights while you're traveling alongside that group. And keep an eye out for bears too, because that's definitely the day you see a lot of wildlife. So you can see boarding the train there, and you'll be in Gold Leaf. And let me just play you a quick video. This is our just like a 1.5-minute video of our first passage to the west route.
As the vibrancy of Vancouver slowly evaporates in the distance, the majestic coast mountains rise up to greet you. And you find yourself on a historic journey that retraces the route of the great 19th century explorers. Let your imagination travel along with the first pioneers, across rushing rivers, through magnificent canyons, alongside sheer rock faces, but with the unparalleled luxury and service the early explorers could never dream of. Marvel in awe as you cut through ancient gray-green volcanic rocks that are 200 million years old. Well, give or take a million. Now you find yourself back in 1885 at Craigellachie, the famous site of the last spike, where Canada's east and west were finally united by 3,200 kilometers of track. With vivid historic imagery still in your mind, the awe-inspiring natural beauty continues to unfold before your eyes. Here's your chance to bring out your inner landscape photographer. Like those who came before you, your journey follows the Kicking Horse River deep into the breathtaking Canadian Rockies. Next up, the legendary spiral tunnels, which opened in 1909. Twist your way through the engineering marvel that proved to be the most difficult terrain to break on Canada's railroad. By now, you're as steeped in history as the vertical drops of the magnificent mountains you pass by. Postcard images continue to appear around every bend until eventually, world-famous Banff comes into view, and you're left wondering how it's possible to travel both forwards and backwards in time. The first passage to the west. Now, who says you can't travel through time?
Okay, that was obviously an eastbound departure. We don't have a video, so just rewind all of that in your mind going westbound from Banff. But this next video is a really short one. It's a cute little video called Speechless, and I'll have a couple of comments on that as just after we play this.
Okay, describe to me the experience of the Rocky Mountaineer.
Gosh. It's
It's hard to describe the feeling aboard Canada's Rocky Mountaineer. Experience it for yourself. Visit rockymountaineer.com.
Okay, usually when I'm doing presentations live, I comment there that I think they loaded a little too much wine on that particular voyage, and but anyway, it's a cute little video, and you can see here one of our breakfast menus. But you know what? I actually think that may that's gold leaf. I thought at first it was silver leaf, but that's a gold leaf menu, and I'm telling you, it is wonderful cuisine that happens to be a breakfast menu. It's changed a little bit since I think this is a little bit older menu, but it's always spectacular food. And typically on the train, you'll have breakfast and lunch, and by the time you get to Kamloops, like I said, you've had so many snacks and meals that you're ready to just get a good night's sleep. But there are good restaurants, fun restaurants there in downtown Kamloops as well. And you can see one of the lunch salmon dishes there as well, and the presentation and taste are wonderful. So, and there's that outdoor viewing platform on one of the gold leaf cars. Just a great place to go and enjoy the outdoors and take your drink out there. The key on the Rocky Mountaineer is layering, especially that time of year, and even a little bit earlier than that, and of course in the fall as well. You'll want to take a sweater because it could be cool outside. So again, layering is the key word, and you can really just pack it in your overnight bag. I say overnight. What we recommend people to do is have a small bag that you take on board that fits under the seat. It's like no bigger than a backpack, I would say, that you put your medication in, sweaters, binoculars, sunglasses, that kind of thing. And by the way we do our luggage is it's really great because when you check in at your, pardon me, when you check in Banff to get your boarding passes, in this case, you'll probably have a tour leader that will check all of you in. They'll give you baggage tags that you put on your bags for the rest of the week, and then you will, pardon me, sorry, getting choked up, losing my voice already. You put those on your bag, and then when you're being dropped off at the train station there in Banff, your bags will be loaded on the luggage truck, and they'll be trucked ahead of the train to Kamloops and distributed into your hotel, and it's that way the rest of the trip. So it's a great thing that you don't have to schlep your bags there in Kamloops, or even when you get to Vancouver. So there's Kamloops. The word is a First Nations name and meaning the meeting of the waters. It's the tournament capital of Western Canada. Because they've got all this abundant river water. They can water their golf courses, their soccer fields, their baseball fields, softball fields, you name it. It's a vibrant little mountain town, but you'll just be there for an overnight stop and then departing early the next morning. And one of the hotels we use quite a bit there in Kamloops is the Sandman Signature resort and conference center. But we also use a hotel that we own quite a bit, and that's our preferred hotel right now. It's the Delta, and Rocky Mountaineer owns that hotel. I don't think I have a shot of that. No, I don't. But it's a very nice hotel. It's definitely the nicest hotel there in Kamloops. So early the next morning, you'll be motor coached over to the train station for day 2. Another spectacular day on the train, and ending up probably arriving the Vancouver station at about somewhere around 7:30 at night on that 5th day, June 24th. Then another, as I mentioned earlier, another great Fairmont property on that end of the trip, the famous Fairmont Hotel Vancouver. Our owner, Peter Armstrong, actually served as a bellman in his younger days at the Fairmont Hotel Vancouver. Back then, I'm not sure it was a Fairmont, but just another one of those grand hotels with a great address in the center of downtown Vancouver, very close to all that's happening. And you'll want to definitely spend some time around that area shopping. There's great restaurants around there. There's a shot of the exterior there of the Hotel Vancouver. The other side of the property, I think it is. Dramatic evening picture of the top of the hotel there, and some of the interior shops. Got a great restaurant in there too. That I think that next morning you'll have breakfast in one of those rooms, I believe. But and then your last day there on the trip will be a tour of the spectacular North Shore of Vancouver, and it's really so much incredible scenery to see. Vancouver's got everything. It's really got these incredible harbor and mountain vistas. It's got this Grouse Mountain Sky Ride, Capilano Suspension Bridge, Stanley Park. I could go on and on, but you'll get a good taste of a lot of those on that last day. And like I said before that, though, you'll have group breakfast there at the Fairmont Hotel Vancouver. So, and then the next day you're all flying out, unless you choose to extend there and stay a little longer. That, by the way, we can't add nights on our package, but you can certainly have John and his agents book you separate nights there if you'd like to stay on a little bit longer. And I put pictures of the interior of the hotel there because I've always been impressed with the Vancouver airport. It's the only airport I've ever seen that had a luxury hotel inside. And I've stayed in that Fairmont several times. It's just a beautiful airport. And the great thing is they have customs there, U.S. customs, and I think in all of the Canada major cities where you actually go through U.S. customs there, so you don't have to do it here in the States. So with that, I guess, John, if you want to open it up or say a few words, we'll take it from there then.
Sure. Yeah, so just a reminder to everybody, here is our telephone number and our email address. Feel free to call or email. Let us know if you have any questions or if you want to join this tour. Remind everybody that we tape this presentation. As soon as we're done, it'll need to be downloaded. We actually have our own YouTube channel now, so we need to upload it to YouTube. So that actually takes a few hours, believe it or not. But sometime late this afternoon, early evening, you'll get an email. It will include this presentation as well as a link to the webpage that kind of goes through the day by day, not in as much detail as Danny did, but will actually kind of go through just a quick 2-sentence kind of overview of all the cities and hotels and everything we're going to visit. And then just another reminder of a couple of things. Number one, you're invited to bring friends and family along. As long as you are going, your friends and family can come along. It is a MOAA exclusive group. So unfortunately, your friends and family can't join us unless you join us as well. And then finally, I mentioned we had 160 some people register for this webinar. We actually had at some points today over 90 in attendance. So just to remind everybody, we only have those 17 double rooms and the 1 single room remaining. So I hate to do kind of a hard close or a hard sell or whatever, but I think it's important to let you know that the space is limited. There's only so many seats on the bus. We can only do one bus. The train cars obviously also have a limit to how many people can be on board. So with that being said, I'm going to open it up to Q&A. We do have a couple of questions. The first one is someone asked, what about the steps on the train and the buses? Her husband is using a walker. So can you talk about the accessibility of this tour?
Yeah, absolutely. On the Go Leaf cars, there is a spiral staircase, but there's also a small lift on board. So for anybody that really doesn't want to try to negotiate those, the spiral staircase, then the hosts are more than happy to help you use the lift. It's an open air lift, and it goes up and down very quickly, down to the lower level, which is the restrooms and Go Leaf dining car and outdoor viewing platform. And of course, when you're boarding the train, they have a lift at all of our stations. They have this electric lift that anybody that's wheelchair bound or just really needs a walker, they can lift you up to boarding level with that apparatus. Now on the motor coaches, we will reserve. Brewster is our partner. Brewster is a part of a company called Pursuit. They're our main partner there in the Rockies. They only have a limited number of coaches that have, a handicap capability, but what they will do is they will make sure that anybody that needs a walker boards first and is seated in the front of the motor coach, and they'll assist with boarding the motor coach as well. So hopefully that will be adequate for you there.
Yeah, and we'll also have a tour director on the bus. I know Danny mentioned about check-in, but they will be with you throughout the tour. So they're to help as well. Here's a question, and I'm going to go ahead and let you answer it, Danny. But the question is are there any past traveler discounts? And I don't know if they're asking about in general or specifically to this group departure. So could you kind of go over that?
If you have been on Rocky Mountaineer before, then there is a past guest discount. It's called Travel Again. I need to check the T's and C's on that to make sure it applies to groups. I believe it does, but I'll check that as soon as we get off, John, and let you know. All we need is a previous booking number, and it's not a huge discount, but it's something I think. Well, rather than say, I'll just look it up first and let you know.
Yeah, and that kind of led into it. My understanding, at least from last year, is that the past traveler discount applies, but it doesn't apply to group departures. So we should bet a steak dinner on this, Danny, because we have differing answers. But I think this is a great opportunity to bring up the fact that if you can't go on this group departure, if the date doesn't work for you, or there's a different itinerary that you want to do or something like that, we're here to help with Rocky Mountaineer, whether you go with the group or you go on your own. I mean, you want to go this year, you want to go 2025, you want to go a different month, you want to go eastbound instead of west, or they have 4 different itineraries. So absolutely, that past traveler discount would apply to anything outside of the group. We have a question on, do you know, this is a tough one, do you know the highest altitude we'll be at during the tour?
Yeah, believe it or not, the Canadian Rockies are not as high as some of the points in the U.S. Rockies. Typically in the Lake Louise area, I think is probably going to be as high or a little bit higher maybe than what you'll be on that entire first day. And I want to say it's around 5,500 to 6,000. And in Revelstoke, that's pretty high as well. You'll actually go through Revelstoke that first day. And it seems like I remember somebody saying there that the mountains themselves there are at about 7,000. But, I'm not totally sure. So I would have to look these up as well. Happy to do that. But I believe Lake Louise is the highest point of that trip, and that Banff area would be close to that as well.
We had a question that somebody mentioned they saw a black screen or a black square on the screen blocking the slides. I'm not really sure what would have been causing that. I didn't have that issue. I hadn't heard. I have, I think, 5 or 7 staff people that are on this as well, and none of them mentioned any issues. So it may just be on your computer. The great news is we taped it. The tape that we have will not have that on it. And so in a couple of hours, 3 or 4 hours, when you actually receive the tape of this presentation, you can review it, and that black square will no longer be there. It won't be on the tape version. We had a question about side tour possibilities. I'm not sure if they're asking about pre or post, or actually asking about tours they could do on their own during the tour. So I'll answer the first part. If you want to do a pre or post, we're more than happy to help you with that. That would be something you would talk to with your MOAA Vacations travel consultant. And then Danny, are there side tour possibilities like add-on tours or something like that during the Rocky Mountaineer tour?
No, they're really not on this, because you're already, unless someone didn't want to go on that Yoho Mountain tour that I talked about, there's no time for anything else. Because you've got you get in that afternoon. I suppose you could do something there in Banff when you guys arrive Banff for the first time, but there's no time for any tours through us. You might be able to set something up for them locally. Yeah, but not through us, no.
Question on how many hours are in the bus before they stop for a stretch?
Oh, our pursuit drivers are very good about that. On that tour, we probably stopped 5 or 6 times. And I would say an hour, probably typically at the most. You'll be stopping a lot during that tour, and that's what's great about it. You have some great photo opportunities and a lot of rest time as well, and of course that great lunch there at that Emerald Lake Lodge. So lots of good leg stretching opportunities.
There you go. Somebody mentioned that we did Rocky Mountaineer in Colorado, and that was a group booking, and it brings up a great point. This is actually our 4th year in a row of doing a MOAA group with Rocky Mountaineer. If you think back to 2021 when we did the first one, United States citizens were not allowed to go to Canada at that time. And so Rocky Mountaineer came and brought 1 or 2 of the train cars down, and actually we're doing a Denver to Las Vegas trip. You call it Red Rocks, right? Red Canyons and
Rockies to the Red Rocks.
There you go.
Yeah.
And anyway, and that one is available. I mentioned that they have other itineraries, but yeah, this is our 4th year in a row. And we have every intention to continue to doing them in the forward. You saw the comments that we had. That is every year we do this. The comments are just outstanding. So Danny, you and everybody at Rocky Mountaineer do a fantastic job. Somebody asked a question about passports. They are currently required to go to Canada. Is that not correct, Danny?
Yes, they're always required to go to Canada. Yes, and they need to be valid for 6 months past returning from your trip. Not sure why that is, but that is the case. So make sure you definitely have a valid passport for at least 6 months following the end of the trip.
Gotcha. We had a question about talk more about the opportunities to stay in Vancouver. I'm not really sure what more to say other than when you talk to your MOAA Vacations travel consultant, let them know that you want to stay 1 night, 2 nights, 10 nights, whatever it is. And then they will work with you to get a hotel that you want for the trip. And so, I mean, we're a full service travel agency. I mentioned it before. We do all vacation travel, so we can help you get a stay at any hotel that you would like in Vancouver. So I think that one's kind of going to be a more so call. The deposit is 10%. It is due now. That deposit is refundable up until January 21st. After January 21st, that deposit is non-refundable. And then final payment is due, I want to say April 21st. but either April 21st, 20th or the 21st is when final payment would due. 120 days prior to departure is when that final payment is due, and that final payment is also non-refundable once it's paid. We highly recommend travel insurance for any vacation trip you take. We're more than happy to get more information on that if you'd like. So obviously, that's I think that answers that question. Okay, meal options on board or it stops. I'm not sure what that is referencing under, unless they're asking, do they have a choice of meals, how many choices they have, what those choices might be. Danny, any light
Yeah,
shed on that?
on Gold Leaf, they have multiple choices, and you know, that's the great thing about Gold Leaf. It's all made to order, so we can do gluten-free, we can do sugar-free, you know, low sodium. The only thing we cannot do is kosher because we don't have the right kitchens and utensils and what have you. But there's multiple selections that are on the menu anyway that are not necessarily sugar-free or gluten-free or whatever, but you can request those. And we need to know those in advance so we can have some gluten-free options for those, or sugar-free, whatever it is, for those people. So John, let us know those things and we'll put them in the record. And by the way, on regarding your previous question about pre and post, like for instance, for post options in Vancouver, a lot of people will, you know, book a night or two there and go over to Victoria and stay at the Fairmont Empress over there. I would highly recommend that. It's a beautiful trip over there on the BC Ferry. My wife and I are actually doing this later on this month, taking the ferry over to Victoria and going to Bouchard Gardens and that kind of thing. So that's an option if you're if any of your clients want to do that on the back end of the trip.
Another question on the deposits and the final payment. I think we've already answered that one. I'll be sure and include that information for everyone with those dates, that January 22nd and I think that's April 21st date of when the deposit becomes non-refundable, when final payments due. And I'll go ahead and include exactly what those deposits are. But as I said, it's 10%, regardless if you're in the single or double room. Are wildfires affecting trips? I'll let Danny talk to this, but I can tell you we just had that Rocky Mountaineer group that went 2 weeks ago, or the people got back from that trip 2 weeks ago. So it departed 3 weeks ago. And I can tell you there were absolutely no issues, no concerns or anything on that trip. Obviously that was a few weeks ago. I have not heard anything about wildfires affecting any clients that we have traveling in the Canadian Rockies. Danny, anything on your end of the wildfires?
Well, at the first of the season, we had a few smoke issues here and there, but no more. Most of the fires are further east in Canada. That's why it's affecting the eastern seaboard more. But no, we definitely get what we call EOCs, emergency operations bulletins, when there's issues with wildfires, and we have not seen any of those lately. And so that's telling you what I know at this point. Never can make any predictions about next year, but this year it has not been a problem.
There you go. Somebody asked about flights. We can absolutely help with flights if you'd like. I would say a good 40%, maybe more, of MOAA members do flights on their own. If you want our assistance, we're more than happy to assist with your flights. Just let us know. Airline flights, you used to pretty reliably say the flights would be released about 11 months prior to the flight date. So for June of 2024, flights would be released in July of 2023. Some of the airlines are not that far out anymore. Some, like Southwest, seem to be 6 or 7 months out. But absolutely, you booked the trip, you need help with air, just ask your MOAA cruise consultant to help with air. Danny, anything on that, or?
No, that's right. We have not gotten in the air business. We'll let you handle that, John.
Okay. Somebody asked a question on the double occupancy cost. I can just go through that real quick. The double occupancy price is $4,989 per person. That includes all the taxes and everything. And I think that goes right into the next question, where, sorry, I skipped screens real quick. I think somebody asked about tipping. And so on the tipping, for the tour director that MOAA Vacations will send, that person is kind of, we pay that person, so no tips are required. There would be tips are recommended for your driver. I don't know if there's a recommended amount that you'd like to address, Danny, but they actually asked about gratuities for the train, the motor coach, the hotels, transfers, etc. So
Right. Yeah, on the train, like I said, gratuities are included. You do not have to, and nor will they ask for any additional, unless you just want to give. It's really funny because I see a lot of people choosing to give more because they're so blown away with the train. I'm just telling you, I see it a lot. But the only thing that I would suggest is on the motor coach tours, and you'll just do that one tour, well, actually two, with the transfer from Calgary over to Banff, but they ask for a couple of dollars, $1 to $2 each for everybody on the motor coach as a pursuit driver gratuity, and your tour director could handle that and gather those and give to the driver. That's really the best, most efficient way to do it. But that's the only tip really that you'll be asked to do during that trip.
And it looks like we've got one last question, although every time I say that, a couple more pop up. Can you talk about Wi-Fi? And they basically asked Goldleaf, but I mean, Wi-Fi at the hotels, Wi-Fi on the motor coaches, and Wi-Fi on the train.
Wi-Fi at the hotels is generally included. On the train, it's spotty. We do not offer public Wi-Fi on the trains, and it's really a good thing that we don't, because it's just it really, I mean, what's outside is what we suggest you look at on the train. If you know, when we have multi-gen groups, the kids that go are sort of forced to get out of their machines and look, you know, look at the beautiful surroundings. And but that said, at various points during the trip, like for instance, when you pass through Lake Louise on that first day, they'll usually stop the train for a few minutes and let people on or off there, usually on there at Lake Louise. You'll have Wi-Fi, you'll have cell service there. Then you'll get it again sporadically in various towns. The longest time being typically Revelstoke. I noticed that I had a good 10 or 15 minutes in May when I was there to check emails and post some things there in Revelstoke. So it's spotty, but you do have cell service at times along the way. And then of course you do again when you get to the hotel there in Kamloops.
All righty. Oh, a couple more. I said every time I say it's our last question, we get a couple more.
This is great. It means everybody's going.
Exactly. Okay, well, Dave just explained why he asked about Wi-Fi, and that's because his pictures automatically upload to the cloud. So my understanding would be, and I'll admit I'm not tech savvy. If I was tech savvy, my camera would be on right now. But my understanding would be that if you don't have Wi-Fi when you take pictures, once you get back on Wi-Fi, then the pictures will upload. And then our dollars normally used are Canadian.
I would recommend people take, you know, get some Canadian dollars before you go. They'll gladly take American dollars, but they can't give you change.
Yeah.
So
exchange.
You're losing the exchange amount, which is, you know, fine if you're just giving a couple dollars tip. They're happy to take American because it's worth more.
Yeah.
But it's up to them, and it's good to have, you know, for the various things there in Vancouver as well. So I'd recommend, you know, picking up 50 to 100 in Canadian dollars. Yeah.
There you go. All righty. Well, reminder, we're going to download this from Zoom, then upload it to YouTube, and then we will send everyone an email, which will not only include a link to this webinar, but all the additional information. So please give us a call or drop us an email if you have any more questions. Let us know as soon as possible if you'd like to join us. And before we finish up, I just want to take a minute and thank Danny for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us today. I know you got a lot going on and you took an hour plus just to be with us today and go through it. So thank you from myself, everyone on my staff, and of course, all the MOAA members who attended today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you for the final word, Danny.
All right. Well, I hope you all will join us. You will not be disappointed. It's going to be a great year to go. We've been, recovering from COVID over the last couple of years, and this year we're really seeing things solidify to where they were back in 2019. And I think John's group that just traveled is a good testimony to that. So I would just say, join us next year. You can't go wrong. You'll love it. It'll be one of those bucket list items that you not only will you be able to check it off, but you'll be able to talk about a wonderful experience for years to come. So thank you for listening. And John, thank you for having us, and hope we'll see you guys on the train.
Bye, everyone. We will see you again soon. Have a great day and have a wonderful weekend.
Bye-bye.